got to go visit the local charity used bookstore here in Calgary. It's the Books Between Friends up in the Northeast. I believe it serves the Between Friends organization that helps kids with I think it helps anybody with autism, and pretty um, open policies with accepting anybody. And awesome bookstore. I try to go there every once in a while just to see what they've got, what's washed up, and I managed to pick up a few books today, as you can see. So I'm going to go through these books and just give you a show what I picked up, and then maybe later on, as Charles and I get going with the podcast, we'll maybe take a deeper dive into some of these. But I wanted to show you, first of all, Alison Dare, Little Misadventures. I've heard of this before, mainly on Jay Torres there, who you're probably familiar with by now. Does a lot of work with Marvel, and Jay Bone as well, who's done work for Marvel. I believe done a lot of work for like Sonic the Hedgehog as well. Really fantastic artist. I think that both these gentlemen are coming out of Toronto, but I just gotta say, like, Jay Bone's stuff looks really great here. Maybe not reaching the full potential of what's coming in his career, but some of these pages are pretty fantastic, I gotta say. Like, especially, there was one in particular. Let's see if I can find it. Oh, I mean, there's a splash there. A really simple, nice splash. Oh, look at that. That takes you there, doesn't it? Okay, let's see here. There was an opening page that I just thought was so good. Anyways, oh, here's another nice one. Look at how he's composed that. Real nice design there. Character designs. Kind of a Darwin Cook feel to his work, which I think he might have done work with Darwin Cook in the past. Of course, Darwin Cook coming out of Toronto as well. This next one's kind of a weird one that I found there, but it totally caught my attention. So, How to Cook Roadkill. Gore, emphasis on the gourmet cooking. Meals from Under Wheels, super cheesy. This one, I think, was published in about 1987 from a publishing house in Winnipeg. Seems like not a whole lot of information out there about like the publisher, the writer, the artist. I think it comes out of Winnipeg. But really, like, it's not a comic book, and it's not a collection of like any cartoons that anybody's done. But the artist in this book, a fellow by the name of Randy or Randall Wall. If anybody knows anything more about this man, please put it in the credits, because his work is really good. I gotta say, some of the gags that he pulls off in here, he uses a nice thick red line. This isn't even one of the stronger ones. This one's pretty good though. I just like the layout of this cartoon to accompany this recipe over on this side here. Just fantastic thick blacks though, and the way he's colored it too is just so good. This lemming meringue pie, showing you kind of the disgusting process, even just in one page. Like, to me, this Randy or Randall Wall just seems like an awesome storyteller. But again, I couldn't find anything about him. Even the cover, I would say, is really strong. Like the lettering here, that Roadkill gourmet cooking looks really strong, really good. Let's see if there's any other highlights. Some Mad Max Roadkill thing going on here with the station wagon. So awesome. Roadkill Patrol. Yeah. A gag book. Totally a gag book. I don't think these guys went on to do anything else in cartooning or writing. Written by Richard Marceau, which, again, I couldn't find too much about him. And unlike the other book, I didn't mention that this one is signed. The Alison Dare one is signed by the authors, which is really great. This one's not, but this was given to somebody at some point. Merry Christmas, Kyle, from Quaife. I don't know if they were brothers or just kids at school. That we used to back in the day, we would have these little book sales at our schools. Buy a book for 10 cents or 25 cents or whatever. And yeah, that's I can only imagine that these two fellas like to make each other laugh, and this was a good thing at the time. 1987. I probably would have dug this around that time. What else do we got? This kind of neat book here. I feel like I know this artist. I feel like I've seen his stuff before, doing some kind of cautionary tales in the past. But here we've got Oddities of West Blankshire, a book of Odin's Greeball. So yeah, by Dan Holst Soelberg. Dan Holst Soelberg, if you go to his website, he says he's living in a terribly ordinary suburban townhouse in Burlington, which to me describes any house in Burlington. It was my first time in Burlington. My wife explained it to me as just being like this suburban wasteland. I thought it was kind of charming. There's some neat architecture, old Canadian houses there, which is really neat. But yeah, reason why I picked this up, well, other than it fits my criteria of Canadian cartooning, but also too, just like his work, his line work is so strong in here, and I suspect that this edition or this book has been printed on demand. Like, I get the strong impression that it's a print on demand from like Amazon or something. Beautiful hardcover, but the printing inside, I don't know if it does his line work justice, because I think it blurs out some of his finer lines, or kind of pixelates his finer lines. You probably can't even make that out on there. But yeah, it's got that pixely look that maybe you would have gotten in some of that earlier Amazon printing on demand stuff that was coming out around that time. So this came out in 2008. Really, really nice book. I look forward to diving into that. What else do we got here? I got Wild Ride. Wild Ride by Liam O'Donnell and Mike Diaz. Alright, so this one is more, all those other ones I went through, I think, are like out east, but this one's coming out of BC. So it's described as a graphic guide adventure, which I don't know. I think it's supposed to be like helping you out if you ever are in a survival situation, but really it just seems like a fun romp through what they describe as the butt end of BC, which I always heard that it was PG up there that was the asshole of Canada, or at least the asshole of BC. So I'm kind of assuming that this book takes place out there somewhere up in the north end of BC, where it's nothing like what it's like out around Vancouver, Victoria area. Very different landscape, very different kind of environments, but also just like the rest of that province, absolutely beautiful. So Mike Diaz's work, I think he's pretty young in this one, and he's really simple lines. It seems like he's relying more on the colors to do a lot of the storytelling rather than his illustration, his straight up line work. From the sounds of it, he's still going strong. He's doing some great children's illustration that I saw on his website, and looks like he's got new work dropping all the time. Hermit Hill seems to be his most recent stuff, and when I was looking at it, reminded me of like Chris Eliopoulos, who's a common letterer, I think, for Marvel, but has done some really neat work of his own, telling children's stories. You've probably run into some of his work at the end of some book, where he's telling a story maybe about like a young Richards boy. I forget, is it Nathan Richards? There you go, Cable, or I don't know who it is. But yeah, it also kind of his newer stuff, his newer illustration reminded me a bit of this local artist here in Calgary named G. Gerald Garcia. He's a really nice guy. He was doing a lot of nice stuff at around this time as well. However, saying all of that, those comparisons, it might actually be his wife's work. I'm not entirely sure that which artist I was seeing on the website. This one looked really neat to me. I read the back and I was like, all right. In that, I was pretty excited to read this, and then when I looked up the artists, discovered that they were Canadian and operating out of Toronto or operating out of Montreal, one of those two. Really neat stuff. I get the impression that Jim Munroe has lived quite a creative life. Even just this publisher called No Media Kings, it's him. It's totally him. But he's not just doing comic books. He's doing movies and all kinds of short films and things like that. So I'm eager to maybe check out some of his films, such as Infest Wisely seems like a neat one. But yeah, it sounds like a really neat figure in Canadian indie comics, which I think I need to discover more about. And also, too, the fact that he's, like, according to his No Media Kings site, he's done some work with Mark Bell, who's just absolutely a Canadian prize, I think, a Canadian treasure. So, be looking forward to Therefore Repent. And you know, saying all that, like, I didn't mention his art, and his brush is really dynamic. Again, like, I don't know if my camera's making that spread out very well, but I'm very eager to jump into this thing. It's like bird people. Cool. I don't know what's going on here. But yeah, this is the premise of it is, what if the religious right are actually right? So this is following, it's described as a post-rapture graphic novel, which sounds nothing but fun. So I'm going to give that a go. What else do we got? One of the hard parts about, and you might have noticed this from the stack that I've got here, and the stack that I've gone through so far, there's not a whole lot of stuff that's printed in the West, in Western Canada. There's obviously some great stuff coming out of here. But even historically, it doesn't seem like there's that big of a Western legacy with cartooning in this country. So you kind of have to dig and see where it's at. Particularly, I think it's an issue with Saskatchewan and Alberta. I mean, outside of the political cartoonists, there's not a whole lot to draw from. A lot of underground people too, I should say, but. You kind of have to take what you can get when you come across it. And this is one of those. It's so cold in the prairies. Wit and wisdom about winter. What's better than engaging in about 20 minutes of small talk about the weather? Reading a book that'll take you 20 minutes about the weather. We like to talk about the weather in Canada. Probably because our very survival depends on our awareness of our weather. But yeah, Cold on the Prairies. So it's by a guy named Ted Stone, who I don't find particularly funny, but illustrated by Terry Leonard. And again, like Leonard's got pretty consistent line throughout, pretty simple little vignettes. This is meant to be a humor book, right? I don't think he's done any like political cartoons or anything in any kind of newspaper over the years. Terry specifically. But my understanding is Terry's still drawing. He's got his website up. He's doing some, I think, drawings of cars for different car-related events out of Radium, BC, which is not too far from here. So I'll try to put a link in the description here to his website where you can get a commission from Terry. Ooh. J.R. Williams, Out Our Way sampler. So, really, J.R. Williams is like a legacy cartoonist for Canada and had a massive, massive strip going for, as you can see, many decades. It was syndicated. The main name of his strip was Out Our Way. He's done a few other like gags as part of Out Our Way. He's done stuff like The Bull of the Woods, which has been collected as well by the same publisher as this one, which is Algrove, which apparently is in Almont, Ontario. J.R. Williams, I believe, is from Nova Scotia, but it's really simple, scratchy line work on his stuff, but really detailed too. Oh, I love these buildings in the back of this cartoon here. I gotta get used to this. There we go. Yeah, love the detail put into these houses, especially in the dark. There, looks fantastic. Yeah, I imagine the printing quality. I don't know. I doubt that these are taken from the originals, but who knows? I could be wrong. I'm not that familiar with J.R. Williams. I'm just kind of diving into him now and getting to know about this guy now. I did pick up those The Bull in the Woods collections as well from the same publisher, so it's a good reading. As you can see, it sounds like a textbook, and it's just a small sampling. I guess the guy did like 100,000 individual cartoons or something. This one is probably the... Okay, so like, there's some weird stuff in this stack for sure. But if you thought the Roadkill book was weird, I would present you with The Lighter Side of Dialysis, Volume 2. More cartoons by Peter Quaife. Quaife? Oh, I'm going to say something nasty. Quaife? Alright, let's go with that. I don't really know too much about him. I know he's not around anymore. What's interesting about it, he's actually not a Canadian cartoonist. I was convinced that this was drawn by a Canadian cartoonist based on like the publisher, the nature of the ads in it, and things like that. It just looks like those Algrove books, right? Like it looks like the same graphic designer or lack of graphic designer. But interestingly, he did live in Toronto, and that's where he was living when he published this series, The Lighter Side of Dialysis, which apparently there's 3 volumes of. But in case you didn't know, Peter was a pretty important member of a pretty important band. Potentially one of the founders of heavy metal music. So he was a member of the Kinks, and he was part of the original recordings and creation of the song You Really Got Me. and apparently he was the most handsome member of the Kinks. And he joined several iterations of that band over many years before his death in, I think it was around 2006 that he died. But his cartoons are pretty good. Yeah, this one's pretty decent. You can see his hand there. I don't know if he ganked that hand from like Windsor McKay or somebody, but looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. Another interesting thing about this little volume, well, he was giving it out for free. Like there's directions in here how to get more of these for free, which I'm sure would have been easy enough to do in 2005, but being that the guy's not around anymore. But one of the interesting things about this is like the ads that show up in it. Like you've got these full color ads next to pages of cartooning, right? Just flipping over, and then ads related to dialysis and kidney disease and things like that. So pretty neat little artifact, I think. Kidney advocacy networks. Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Publication is made possible in part through an unrestricted grant from Hoffman LaRoche Limited. Hoffman LaRoche Limited assumes no responsibility for any of this content. Alright. I don't know if they manufacture dialysis machines or what, but anyways, there's your lighter side of dialysis. From There to Here by Andy Donato. I'm pretty excited to get into this. So Donato was a political cartoonist on the regular for the Toronto Sun for many years. I don't think he's around anymore, but so good. This guy can sling ink. He's an excellent artist, and such variation, right? Like he switches styles just so gracefully, and each time he switches styles, they're all beautiful. They're all beautiful. I like picking up as I learn some cartooning and caricature. I like picking up stuff from this era because this would have been during the time of Trudeau Sr., Pierre Elliott, and his reign as Prime Minister. And of course, all of these different political cartoonists did excellent renditions of the man. So for myself, who's learning caricature, they all stand as awesome comparisons one next to the other. But Donato, I think, is probably one of those artists that I can only ever aspire to be like. I do want to show you a couple of highlights. I think this book is worthy of diving into on its own. So here's the cover. But then you see this other style popping up here on this side. I'm not sure what he's using there. It might be a zipatone for all I know, and then he's just putting some whites over top of the zipatone. Honestly, I have very little experience with zipatones, so if any. So yeah, I don't know for sure what was going on there. But just as I was looking at that cartoon, looking at this one on the right, now I don't know if Margaret was the first lady at the time of Donato drawing this, but that is, of course, not a pleasant depiction of her, of who I consider to be one of Canada's absolute treasures. Yeah, I think it's meant to just sort of accentuate Trudeau's partying lifestyle. I mean, he switches from something like that to something like this, and I don't know if my camera's doing it justice either, but he's using pointillism a lot in this drawing. Like, it's not zipatone. I don't think it's zipatone. I think it's all him doing this, and it looks magnificent. Yeah, I certainly want to draw like that. Absolutely want to draw like that. There's brushwork with the smoke around her. Oh my goodness. Coming up here. Oh, looks fantastic. Beautiful women that he draws too. Man alive, this guy's a master. I gotta show you a couple more. And then switching to something like this, right? Where he's giving this tribute to a buddy of his, John Robarts. I don't know if he's another political cartoonist. I'm sure I'll find out. And then loose pencils. And then you've got a photo here. Like, what a master of his craft, hey? This dude, he does it. Stuff like this. And seriously, like, a political cartoon that has very little words in it. The only indication of the theme is the newspaper that you've got here. And it's about child poverty. And this story about this woman who has to give her kids up to Children's Aid because the kids cost too much. And it's a pretty serious drawing there, right? So he goes from something hilarious, this very wacky kind of depiction of Trudeau, to something critically serious like this. Man, this guy is good at what he does. And another thing I appreciate about this political cartoon is that you could publish this story tomorrow, or publish this tomorrow as an editorial, and it would still be relevant, right? Donato just showing his prowess there. So much to pull from in this book as he switches those styles. Here's another style he does, just like there we go. There we go. On this side, it's like really simple blacks, right? I don't even know if is that brush? Yeah, it could be brush. One more. I gotta show you one more from this, and just another illustration of his prowess as a caricature artist, right there. Man, this guy's good. All right. That's enough drooling on that book. He's in this book too. So the best political cartoons of 1984. I've been trying to pick up all the portfolios as I see them. They're pretty great anthologies, collections of the best political cartoons from any given year. I believe this one predates those portfolios. I don't think they started coming out until like 88 or 87. But yeah, again, like good comparisons in here of how different artists do Trudeau. This would have been towards the end. I think it is the end. 1984 was the end of Pierre Elliott's prime ministership. So there's going to be tons of jokes about him, seeing like what aspects of Trudeau's looks the different artists lean into. And then also too, you got Brian Mulroney coming onto the scene here as Canada's prime minister. And that dude has a chin that's going to put Jay Leno's chin to shame on any day. So another good character to kind of follow along and learn about caricature art and political cartooning. So the last one that I picked up there, I see it all the time and I never pick it up, so I thought today's that day, and the price was right. And I never picked it up when it came out. I don't know why. But Secret Path, you've probably seen this thing a million times in your like school library or your city library. It's all around here in Canada. You can see it anywhere. There's so much good to say about this book. I don't think I want to take too much time with it right now, because I do believe that it deserves a review all its own. And I'm probably not part of a Jeff Lemire overview, because it is Gord Downie that writes it. And this is a very unique thing. It's in the shape of an LP, of a record. It's going to fit comfortably on a record shelf. it's got that feel to it. That's all I want to say about it right now. I could open this thing up and start drooling all over the pages, because this is Jeff Lemire at like peak Lemire. Yeah, I think he's just another national treasure, and pretty cool that he got to do this with Gord Downie just a short while before Gordy Downie passed. So yeah, I'll be looking forward to this. I've read it before. I'm going to read it again, and maybe this time, I think when I do the reading, I'll probably have Gordy Downie's album that goes along with this playing at the same time, and just see what that experience is like. So usually when musicians try to mix comics with music, it usually doesn't go all that well. Like, I recently read Anthrax's Among the Living comic, and it was good. It was totally good. It's just, it's hard to get the music to match the pace of the comic book. You really have to enjoy those things independently of one another. But here, like Gordy Downie, he's such a visionary. And Jeff Lemire is an excellent storyteller as well. So for all I know, they might have paced this stuff out based on the music. We'll see, you know, and I'll get a sense of it. Sure, certainly when I was flipping through it today, I was reminded of some of that music that Gord Downie left us with. So that's it. Definitely go over there to Books Between Friends here in Calgary. It's definitely worth a trip. They got a nice little graphic novel section there, and yeah, there was a lot that I passed up that I either already had or just wasn't quite in my criteria for my collection. So hope you enjoyed today's haul.